So Balenciaga opened his first fashion house, Acer, in 1917, named in honor of his mother. It all started in San Sebastian, and then later he expanded to Madrid and Barcelona. That was before he established his legendary couture house in Paris in 1937. This design from 1961 is part of that Acer label, which later became like a sister line to his Paris couture label, and he offered them to his Spanish clients. These pieces were more affordable and more wearable, more like ready-to-wear pieces, and they were made from more affordable fabrics. So this dress, from the front, is quite simple. It's almost understated. But then turn it around, and the drama unfolds. Well, no wonder DIOR called him the couture's couturier. I mean, this design is quintessential Balenciaga. He often placed the focus on the reverse. Here, this sculptural back cascades into a bow and like this sack back, reminiscent of a Japanese kimono. And then it flows into this floor-length train. Oh, by the way, guys, welcome to the next episode of Study of Shape, a series I do here on YouTube where I unravel designs from famous fashion houses on my house scale dummy. This series, I normally just, explore the shape of these garments, and essentially I just create a toile. And if you're new here, my name is Henny, and this is Studio Henny's. So each episode, I ask you guys to vote for the next design that I'm going to create. And this time, the winner was this Cristóbal Balenciaga design from 1961. So you can normally vote in the comments here on YouTube, but you can also vote on Instagram, because usually I share a story shortly after the video is published. So if you don't follow me on Instagram, please do, so you get to have another vote if you want, or if you miss this one, you can vote there. Do you know what I'm saying? All right, guys, let's get into the shape and structure of Balenciaga. Okay, so let's look at this gown a little bit closer. So we have the front, which is actually cut on the bias, and it isn't like a one panel. It has seams to divide this front. We have this triangular seam right in the front, and then we have a center front seam all the way, and also there is a seam on the hem, like a diagonal seam that is actually traveling from the back to the front. And then we have the gathered area here on the neckline, and you are also going to have a seam here where this gathering is inserted, and possibly there is another panel here where the collar is going to be sitting on. Right, so as I mentioned, we have this seam which is coming from the armhole, and then we have the diagonal seam coming all the way from the back. So it is traveling from this area where the flared hem is inserted, just under the bum. And then we have this beautiful sock back, which is actually traveling right from the front. So there is no side seam on this dress, and it allows it to sit so beautifully because it's cut on the bias on the front. So as I said, we do have this seam traveling from this point where the bow is, but there is no seam on the side, but there is a center back seam with a little opening here, so it allows it to, insert a zipper on the under layer on the lining. And then we have this gathered area here at the back, which is possibly inserted on the inside of the facing, like on the inside of the garment and into the facing. And then also we have a seam here where the strap is inserted, which is actually traveling from the front collar. So the front collar travels all the way to the back into this seam. And then, as I mentioned, we have the little bow. Okay, so now that we know all this, we can start working on the dress.
So first, I was trying to establish the base. And as we have discussed, this dress is cut on the bias. So I just positioned my fabric on the bias and I literally just wrapped it around the dummy as it comes. And obviously I just secured it on the center front and center back. And I was trying to slowly mold it around the body. I was trying not to do any shaping except here on the bust towards the shoulder. And then I just, started drawing the armhole and just cutting some excess away and just trying to see the basic shape for the dress. And also some, the outlines like the back neckline and also the front seam. So this was the point when I did want to have just a little bit of shaping. So I kind of shaped the bust line. Once I was quite happy, I just started to add some pieces of fabric to the hem because the fabric was not long enough, so I needed to kind of patch things up a bit there. And then I was ready to mark the diagonal line that is coming from the back to the front. I love working on bias. I just love how you can effortlessly mold the fabric around the body and it just folds so beautifully, even when it's not fitted. Like this dress is not fitted at all. It has a shift dress kind of shape. So it's just skimming your body. I did the shaping, yes, on the bust just a little bit and on the under bust, but that's it. There is no other shaping on this dress. Now it was time to create just a quick mock-up of this basic shape without all the cuts and pins, basically. So I can actually build the drape parts on top. That's why I love draping, because I think it's just such a quick way of, getting that shape just out there. I was never really fond of flat pattern cutting. I always appreciated draping because I could quickly visualize anything. And then, of course, there is a process there that I follow and I'm used to, but it's just a really quick way for me to get things out. So we already have a base, the shape of the dress that everything else is going to sit on. Well, it still needs some tweaks, but it's a start.
Okay, so the back is way too low. Like it needs to be more like here. And then the armhole we're gonna fix a little bit. I had a bit of an excess. And then also this line is like way too low because it's not coming down. It's not coming down to the waist. It's more like somewhere here. So I'm gonna have to redraw that. But the rest looking quite all right. Like it's not gonna be fitted here on the side or anything. And I'm gonna have to lift this dummy because proportionally this needs to be longer. Neckline I will see because we do have like a collar, right? We have a collar that sits here. Okay, yeah, something like that. Okay, let's mark these lines and then we're just gonna move on to the drapey bits.
Okay, so now I just needed to fill in the back as it was missing a bit, and I'm just redrawing this front seam. And then now we can get to the drapey bits. And I'm starting with the front, where this is actually be gathered here, but I'm just creating pleats so I can have a sense of volume and the direction of the gathering. And then I immediately go on to just to try to see the color. I wanted to do this like a classic bias cut color, but I don't think that's what it is because it needed some shaping. So I resorted to a shaped color in the end. Every time I'm deep in a project, which, let's be honest, is pretty much all the time, the last thing I want to think about is what to cook. That's why I've been such a big fan of HelloFresh, who I am collaborating with in this video. I've actually been using HelloFresh for over 3 years now, and I genuinely love how much time and mental energy it saves me. It's a meal kit delivery service that sends fresh, pre-portioned ingredients straight to your door based on the meals you pick. Each box comes with super easy, step-by-step recipes, so you don't have to think. You just cook and enjoy. They've got tons of options, quick 15-minute dinners, cozy classics, even street food style dishes. It's like a restaurant quality meal, but at home. Plus, I save money and cut down on food waste because everything is perfectly proportioned. You can customize your box depending on how many meals you want and how many people you are cooking for. It's super flexible. You can skip a week, change your delivery day, whatever works for you. When I'm busy and my brain's fully in project mode, I just want a no-stress, delicious dinner at the end of the day. And that's exactly what HelloFresh gives me. Feel free to use my code to get 50% off your first box. I hope it's as much of a game changer for you as it's been for me. Now let's finish this meal. I can't wait to dig in. And then it was time for me to start preparing for the back. It's important to mark the grain lines, especially when you are draping something like this, because we're gonna need this. I need to align the grain line to the existing base, and I just need to keep track of things. I'm not gonna lie, it was quite a challenge to get the right volume and also get the right angle. So obviously I spent quite a bit of time on this just to try to get the right angle of the pleats and gathers and also the correct volume and just making sure that it folds nicely. It has a bit of like a deeper pleat at the center back if you kind of study the picture that we had. Well, it was a play. It was a play on volume, really. Because I always ended up a little bit too much volume on the bottom or too much volume on the top. So challenging, I have to say. But I think I got there in the end.
Okay, so I think we are at a pretty good stage. I'm quite happy with it. Obviously, it's a different fabric as well, so it kind of sits a little bit different. I think the actual fabric would be a lot softer, but regardless, I'm quite happy with it. What I'm going to do though, on the flat pattern, I'm going to add just a tiny bit more of volume in this area. But other than that, I'm quite happy. This is going to get merged into the front piece. This front here, we are actually going to have a gather, not pleats, as it is right now. And I'm just going to add this back flared piece now. And then after that, this is done. And then we're just gonna get a final toile as usual for the study of shape episodes. So yeah, let's get moving.
There is one last thing we haven't done, and that's the hem, which is coming from that bow and travels to the front. It also has some gathers and quite a bit of volume. And here it is, our draped piece. Now all we have to do is turn it into a pattern. So I moved on to carefully removing all my draped pieces and started tracing them to create a sewing pattern. Obviously making sure that I have all the annotations, grain lines, and also made sure that I fixed up some of the imperfections of the draped pieces before I transfer them onto the paper. When you drape something, initially it's never perfect. You always have to fix things later on the paper pattern, or after you remove the pieces, you need to clean things up and just smooth those lines, or, slightly adjust things and make sure things are matching. So all I had left to do is just check the rest of the pattern pieces and just make any necessary amendments that it needed. And then it was all ready to cut and go. That's the most exciting part. When everything you've done, it's gonna turn into an actual piece, and see how you mess things up. Hopefully not. Hopefully it's all gonna be fine. But there is always this little voice in my head like, oh, maybe it's just all gonna turn out really bad. Okay, guys, while I'm stitching here, why don't we vote for the next episode's dress? So this time I want to do a little bit of a change. So instead of looking like so far back to the 50s, I think I want to do something a little bit more recent. So, well, recent, but like not too recent, you know what I mean? So option number 1 is this Vivienne Westwood look from 1997. And option number 2 is this John Galliano bias cut dress from the 90s. I'm actually not sure about the exact date for this dress. Option number 3 is this dress from Alexander McQueen's Planters Atlantis from 2010. And now, guys, I never do this, but option number 4, just because I couldn't decide between 2 McQueen dresses. So option number 4 is this look from Alexander McQueen's It's Only a Game collection from 2005. Okay, guys, so you know the drill, so just leave your votes in the comments. And in the meantime, our Balenciaga dress is coming together. I already have a front. So now we just need to assemble the rest of the dress. I am not sure if the original dress had a lining, but I would assume it would, because I am building everything onto a plain lining layer so it can, hold the shape. I couldn't find any information on that, but I'm just gonna go with my gut, and that's how I'm going to do it. So now we just needed to add a little bow at the back. I opted for like a very simple little bow. The pictures that I've seen of the dress, it seems like there is nothing complicated going on. So I'm just going to make a little bow with some hand stitching, and I'm just going to secure it to the back of the dress. So now we're just going to have some finishing touches.